Welcome back to Siesta with Suki. Thank you so much for joining me today. Today we are on part 2 of the fascinating conversation with Juan Carlos Vieira. So you're going to have to watch part 1 because it would just take me too long to tell you just how fascinating the conversation is. We talked a little bit about history of Oaxaca from the ground and how it feels to be a child growing up. We talked about really the core of who he is and the basis for his business, which while it is based in the social aspect, our position today, if we're going to do any position in sociology, as he is a sociologist, is that this is a model for all businesses to follow, in that we can work together, provide outstanding experiences. So we're going to talk about some of the experiences a little bit later, and still keep the community in mind, keep sociality in mind, and keep in mind that we are all an interconnected world. So without further ado, and we're going to be talking some heady stuff today. So even though we're siestaing, but just know that we're diving into the subjects today, particularly food, your relationship with food, and how food informs, Oaxacan food in particular, can inform just your whole way of being. So, now that was after some Mezcal. Mucho gusto, Juan Carlos.
Mucho gusto. Muchas gracias.
No, it's okay, because we are always talking about our Spanish words, but today we actually did Zapotec word.
Yeah, I know.
So what I'd like you to do for me when we start we're going to siesta, but I want you to tell me the word again, and can you spell it for me, because I want to put it in the description.
Yes,
and if you can explain to our audience again, who definitely watched part 1, but just in case they didn't, explain to us the meaning behind the sentiments.
Okay. Thank you so much. For me, it's important. Say Dixeebe, but have different pronunciations.
Okay.
Remember, Zapotec no exists only one, exists different variants.
Sí.
So when I relax and I understand, I answer in Spanish. Why? Because thank you so much for inviting me. It's interesting. So in Oaxaca, Dixeebe. And
we slowly drink our...
Thank you.
Okay, so we are going to get right into it. So I want to tell you, and I'm going to put the links for all of you in the description, because this is absolutely worth a read. So he's got a blog, and if you watch part 1, you know he's been doing this for a long time. So go look it up, pay attention. But he's got this blog, and he talks about, in the blog, a few topics that I thought were interesting. So this one, and we're going to go through all 3 of them: food, society, and human rights.
Yes.
Is food really enough for everyone?
Yeah.
And the slow food, ethno-food philosophy.
Yeah.
So we're going to go through this actually in order, because this is what's going to bring us to your particular project. But we're going to start with food, society, and human rights. And one thing that you and I were talking about before we started is, inflation may not have been real in your house, but it's real outside, right? And the cost of, I went to the supermarket the other day, and I no longer buy imported foods, nothing. And yet my bill was what I know some people are paying for a room for a month. And I'm asking myself, is food not a human right? How can this be sustainable? I know that sometimes people want to say, well, it's the influx of foreigners and but the reality is it's not just foreigners in the supermarkets, right? I'm going to Abastos, I'm going to the different supermarkets, and somewhere something has gone wrong. And it's obviously something you gave a lot of thought to, hence the article. So talk to me about that.
Okay. Big question.
I know, we're going to have to give the small, it's a small, we're not talking?
Don't worry. So in this case, okay. When I talking about the food, it's like the system. You need when you started to talking about the food, you need to remember one stuff. In the world, the most important is the food. But if you don't have access, it's the problem.
Yes.
The problem no is what you eat. The problem is what kind of food you eat.
Okay.
Because food exists. But what kind of food you eat is the problem. Maybe you can tell me what is is the same words? No. Because maybe you can access one hamburger, one brand, but maybe this meat, this bread, this lettuce have 1 year before or maybe 6 months before.
Not great, okay.
And you can say, it's good. Okay, it's good, but acceptable. But it's richness for your body?
Okay, probably not, because it's gone through that much time, and we all know that once it comes out of the ground, the nutrients start depleting.
Correct. And this is like the reason, like the human rights. When like the people talking about like the human rights, do you need to remember what is like the rights? Because every time like the rights, it exists different, exists like the big letter. But you need to remember like the food is part of your body. Is your healthy, is your history. It's all. But when you're talking about that, you need to recognize like the food, it's like the big moment. This is like the reason maybe when I talking like the food, it's necessary to understand like the food, not it's only what you eat. It's what passed back of you, like the background. How you cultivate, what is your history, what is the reason you have like these qualities, or maybe what is your history and the connections. Because for example, in Oaxaca, when you was a child, if you living in the communities, you walking with your mom and have one bag, and your mom cultivate, put like the seed, but like the kids back with your finger, put the earth. What is like the meaning? You explain at your family and all the person working together. The women's is the most important for protect like the seeds.
Okay.
Like the women's in Oaxaca around the world is like the most important because when cultivate and extract like the grains, keeps and be care. It's like the most important. She's like the protector. Okay. If you understand that, like the women's is like the person most important. For example, if you remember, if you have a seed and if you put in your pocket, your naturally or your soul, I don't know what happened, is magic, you put. But if you remember, you take like the seed and put in the earth. I don't know what happened, but it's magic. Okay. This is like the reason when I'm talking about like the food society and the human rights is that. Because if you remember, like the food normally knows accessibility. And this is like the reason when you change like the prices or recognize. But I wanted to put one concept in your space, agrobiodiversity.
Agrobiodiversity, okay.
What is like the meaning? One corn, 56 different varieties.
Yes.
One pumpkin, 68 different varieties. One chili, 58 different varieties. Corn, chili, pumpkins, agave, mezcal, 250 different kind of plants. Mm. But when you will go to the market or like the big supermarkets, only one.
Yes.
This is like the reason, like the human rights. Because maybe when you come into Oaxaca, it's maybe the same name, different varieties. In Oaxaca, only if you can watch it, you have like the colors, like the blue, pink, red, yellow, white, different names, olotillo, zapalote, different names, tortillero, exist different names. But like the reason I told you, this is like the reason when I write about that, it's important you can know it. Like in Oaxaca, like the food, no, it's only the tradition. It's part of the life. This is like the reason when you come in with your community or when you drink your tejate, maybe like the same elements, the same products, different prices. But no, it's because the value is different.
Okay.
It's only like similar, like the concept, like when you like the real estates, different areas.
Yes.
It's important that.
Yes.
This is like the reason when I'm talking, but I invite you, if you have the opportunity, take or drink or eat like different food, and you combine with the human rights, is this important? Because only for close like this concept is the sovereignty alimentary. The sovereignty is the soberania. It's like the sovereignty, correct. Sí. And this is like the most important. Sovereignty is like the most important element in the world, because for example, if you are a country, you fight for your sovereignty, because sometimes exists like the words for that. I don't know, maybe like the different consults say like the next word is for the water.
Yeah, we hope not, because that would be very troublesome. Oaxaca obviously has challenges with water. And we all have to do our part.
I know.
Right, in the water. And we don't know what the trend is going to be. We can only see what we see right now.
Correct.
Right now it's hot.
I know.
And it's May, and it still hasn't rained a lot.
Correct.
And that's even different from 4 years ago when I first got here, because by now it was absolutely raining.
Correct.
Right? And so when we talk about, food, society, and human rights, part of it is a little bit out of our control. We cannot control the weather. We can't control what's here. And so I would suppose that's where a little bit of education comes in, and knowing, okay, there are all these different varieties of corn. There are all these different varieties of pumpkins. Which are the ones that can be grown in a little bit drier land, right?
Totally.
So that when we think about food and food scarcity and abundance, that we're also paying attention to the actual things that are happening in the world and adapting, because we have to adapt to where we find ourselves, not where we want to be. So
totally. This is like the reason. Maybe it's thank you so much for put this information in the table or on the table. It's because not all the person correct, but because no, it's all many times like the person wanted to only show like the small answers, but in this case it's more for open, like the communications, for more person talking and say, that's correct, I need to cultivate, I need preserve, I need to create, I need to
preserve more. Yes, different preserving, because maybe in the past preserving was not necessary, because there was all this abundance of water and all of that. But now, and I see some farmers doing it, which is fantastic in Oaxaca. They're building more, they're not tinacos, they're not cisterns, but they're like cisterns in their communities, because they realize they have to hold on to more of the water.
And the most important, maybe in this text, don't put like the one specific word, technology. The technology don't meaning is more like the computers, or maybe use like the electronic elements. In this case, technology is when you use like the nature. I don't know who create this species, but for me, technology you need to combine two different seeds and you create new. This is like the reason. But exists like the contrast. This is not GMO, no modificados genéticamente. This is not GMO.
Yes. It's not GMO. It's not genetic modification. Yes.
Correct.
It is a combination. It's a natural combination of two ideas.
Correct.
The same way we as human beings eventually kind of,
Correct, because this is
together.
Make the resistance.
Exactly. So it's the survival of the fittest almost.
Correct. Yes. And this is like the most important. For example, if you have like the incredible in the Mijes in Oaxaca exists one kind of plant. It's a big discussion. One enterprise from one kind of country.
We won't say anything.
So in this country, pay 1% for the business. For the technology. The name for this corn is in Oaxaca. This corn in the roots create one kind of gel. The name is mucílago. And extract like the nitrogen.
The nutrients?
The nitrogen.
Nitrogen.
Correct. Adaptate.
Okay.
Adaptate in the plant. And in the roots put in the earth. But it's interesting. It's like the most incredible in engineering, natural engineering.
Natural engineering.
But like the industry say, I need to make the rulers, I make like the business, and you then use more. It's mine, and I can pay 1% for your technology.
For your technology.
Exists one concept in the big rights, the human rights. The name is Protocolo de Nagoya.
Okay.
Do you know what is like the protocol of Nagoya?
Narota protocol, I suppose.
Yeah, I know. In this protocol, say like the communities have the roles and have the rules, and all the products you buy in or you have, and all the products you obtain is your right.
It's your rights on your land.
Correct.
And you cannot tell me on my own land.
And this is like the reason. Protocolo de Nagoya. This is like the most important. Obviously, it's the big industry, but this one indigenous person don't have the rulers and don't have like the law.
Yes.
But in the community, like the person say, the mama pacha, la tierra, the earth, have the rulers. But this is like the reason I'm talking about like the human rights. This is important, and I protect.
Okay.
Or maybe I protect like the earth.
You protect the earth, yes, and because obviously the concept of owning the land is a very Western concept. The reality is that you're hard pressed to really own land. Land is going to do what it wants to do. So you are on the land with the land, and you cultivate the land, and you help the land, and you serve the land. The land serves you in turn. But here, And I will have to say, you talked about when you travel, it allows you to open up your mind to different concepts. And that is something that, even here when they talk about communal land,
Okay.
right? Communal land is a big word that does not even capture
Claro.
the individualism of each of the different communities, the different identities of the different communities, right? So when you're talking about even food, society, and human rights, I would imagine that we're talking about being so local with the food that it's what the land will produce for me in this particular environment, in this particular setting, given what's actually happening here, is what's the most sustainable for us all generally. So there's no one solution because the weather here is not the weather 50 miles from here.
Yeah, in Mexico, say the big element or the big flag for say the second, or the first revolution or the revolution from Mexico, the name one slogan say, "La tierra es de quien la trabaja." What is like the meaning? The earth is for the person to work. Why? It's so interesting concept because this is like the big moment maybe 100 years ago. Oaxaca, 90% of the state is the community. Is communal. Just communal.
Sí, communal.
But no exist the owners. No exist big industry or big owners say, this is my earth. No. In this case, the community. If you wanted to buy in one part of the earth, you need to talking with the community.
Yes,
Interesting.
And they need to know, and they need to agree.
Mm-hmm.
So this is part, and I can understand sometimes when people from Oaxaca are a little concerned when they see, too many foreigners coming in because it's not just about the actual foreigner, it's about the mentality. That's the concern. The concern is, are you going to come in and try to change?
It's because maybe if you're thinking...
and you don't have to be nice here, so you can just give it to me straight.
I know. Maybe like the person normally thinking, it's the business.
Mm-hmm.
It's bad if I can have the control. But if you're changing, maybe you remember I told you exists 1,072 communities in Oaxaca.
Yes.
This is like the reason I have like the many communities and different rulers, but like the reason is because no, it's good for the industry. Because if you remember, in the normal communities normal communities have like the agrobiodiversity, polycultivos, different cultivations inside in the same. But like the industry, only one monocultivo.
That's right.
And they have the problems because have monoplagas. And what is like the meaning? Do you have big problems because only growing?
There's only one solution to everyone, and there's more than that.
Correct.
So now we know how many varieties of corn there are, so we should not be all taking out that same measure of corn.
I want to give another phrase from Mexico.
Sí.
Sin maíz, no hay país.
Okay.
It's an interesting words.
Okay, translate for me.
Yes, of course. If you don't have corn, don't exist the country.
The country, okay. Well, this is the country of maíz. But it's
Correct.
not just one maíz. Right?
Correct.
It's all the
Thank you so much. It's amazing.
Yes, the blue corn, and I love blue corn. And so and you even see it in the different tortillas.
Like when you love, for example, you love like the blue corn, it's the same you drink one glass from wine because have antioxidants.
Oh, yeah? Uh-oh.
Really, it's true.
We're going to have to, cook this
Because
with you guys.
because have tanninos.
Okay. So it's like one glass of wine.
Yeah.
So for our non-drinkers, so a tortilla, blue tortilla,
Yeah.
and some tomo no tomo, and then you're in good shape. Very nice. Okay, excelente. So then we're going to go right into the slow ethno-food philosophy and talk about your space. So one of the things, and I read this article, and again, I'm going to put the link for people because I definitely feel like people should read it. You definitely talk about the process of getting to the food. And again, the same thing I was telling you with the travels. I love going different places and seeing not just what different people eat, but how they eat, right? Some places in Asia, it's all the food. I love that. All the food goes in the middle, and then everyone takes onto their plate. Some places in Africa, it's with your hands.
Okay.
So it's a very, so around the world, I find food to be a very communal process. And there is a little bit of separation when you get to the Western world between you and your food. There's the knife and the fork and the specific plates and the courses of the meal, so your food doesn't mix. So when you start thinking about it, food actually can tell you a lot about the culture that you're in. And so that's what you do in your space with the Ethnofood, and not just food like food into your body, but food for thought. So if you have some thoughts, you can go talk to him about this. But the slow, let's think about the process. Part of what you do, I know, because I've sent 50 million people to your place. I always love sending them there because it makes me look good. They're like, oh, Suki, I love that place you sent me to. And I'm like, I didn't do anything except give you the address, But they always come back, and it's always a memorable experience. And what's memorable is the whole experience. When you go to the market, so you tell me, because I've been very interested. So I've probably sent several people over 2 years. And I don't ask them each about their individual experiences, but I imagine that when you decide the cooking class, for example, that day, you go to the market with people, right? And you explain to them the history and everything. But if you don't find an ingredient, I've always wondered, if you don't find the ingredient you're looking for at the market, what do you do?
Okay.
You can start me at the beginning. You don't have to get, that's just been a burning question for me. Because I go to the market sometimes and I have a thing in my mind. I'm like, I want yuca. And then I go and they're like, oh, there's no yuca today. I'm like, oh, my whole plan in my mind is gone. So what do you do?
Before to answer, I have one question for you.
See.
What is your favorite food? Don't worry, it's not necessarily from Oaxaca. What is your favorite food? If you close your eyes, what is your favorite food?
If I close my eyes, my favorite food, it is probably, so it's something from Haiti. It's called maïs. And it's like maize, I suppose. It's a different type of corn. And you can make everything with maïs. So maïs is with frijoles, maíz is with tomatoes. So it's actually the way that you season the water that makes the maíz really good. So if I were to have nothing else that, you were saying, what's the thing? I would do maíz because it's so versatile.
Thank you so much, because this is like the reason. When you find your favorite food, you open your mouth. It's like what happened here is magic. My favorite is one kind, the name is estofado or pozole.
Okay.
Find you, because it's incredible recipes if you want to taste it.
But you have to tell us what they are in English. Is there an English translation?
No. Estofado is one kind of mole. Okay. It's an interesting mole, but using like the combination is like the colonial food, and the same with pozole, because pozole was making with pork and beef, or maybe with corn. It's like interesting soup. If you're coming, drinking or eating, because it's like a soup with the food. But what is the reason I asked you what is your favorite food? Because it's the connection. When you love the food, you discover what do you like. But when you don't know what do you like, it's similar when you're walking around in one specific space, but it's loose. You don't like, you need to taste it, but when you discover what do you like, make the connection. Maybe when you're tasting or eating, your mind is like, with your mom or with your family.
Yes.
I don't know.
You remember the experience.
Correct. This is like the reason. But when you're cooking, you need to know, for example, like the philosophy. Maybe I am a nerd. I need to explain that when I'm talking about nerd. Because I am, when I working with the person and explain you, if you want to working with me, you need to have passion. Okay. But the most important is because I have one specific contrast. The host, en español, el anfitrión. In Mexico, el anfitrión, the host, is not only the person to say welcome. It's like the person responsibility to have you have like the incredible time with me. If you are invite me, or if you are invite, correct? I thinking if you come at my home, you are my invite. You don't clean your dishes, you don't cooking, you are my invite you and say, come on, don't worry. But in the community, it's because say, oh, do you have one mezcal? What do you need? Don't worry. And this is like the bathroom. Don't worry, because this is like the traditional in Mexico. But when coming with this is because I need to explain you, for example, like the Etnofood have like inside the vegetarian, vegan, and flexitarian gastronomy.
Okay. Flexitarian.
Like the person to eat, like the omnivore, have the opportunity to eat all.
Okay.
But exists different concepts. Cruditarian, raw-tarian, like the raw, grain-tarian, flexitarian, like the person to eat some, prefer like vegetables, but come to eat like some food. Like the person have like the options for eating like the flowers flowritarian.
Oh, there's flowritarians. Oh, wow.
In Oaxaca's past, maybe if you're making like quesadilla with flor de calabaza.
Oh, see, I love that.
Pumpkin flower is
Yes.
like what happened. Exists like different options, but exists like the evolution. Maybe now, no, it's only vegan and vegetarian. Exists like
so
different.
now we have all this. Okay.
Correct.
So talk to me about your space, because it's more than just a space. So the cooking classes are fantastic. Like I said, I when someone asks me, even when they don't ask me, they just put on Facebook, does anybody know? And I'm immediately, I send it, because I'm like, this.
Thank you so much.
This here is an experience, and you get more. It's more than just food.
But you need to know, for example, thank you so much for that. Thank you so much, really. But not just for the business. It's because, for example, I need to explain what is the reason my connection with the kitchen. When I living alone in Argentina, my mom cried, no, don't we go, why?
I know she cried, because I know Mexican moms do not like you to leave. You left the country.
No, but my mom say, Juan, you don't will go. Oh, my mom say don't will go, but say in your head don't will go to. But say, who cooking? Me. And say, my mom, you don't cooking. Yes, I can. Obviously, like the basic. This is the reason I started Etnofood, because it was my first connection. When I have 2 or 3 months in Argentina, outside, not Mexican ingredients, I say, I don't find, I can find like chilies, I can find, I don't know, for example, like the allspice Mexican, I can find like the pasilla mije, I can find mangoes, exists, but no, it's fresh, it's not the same.
No, it's
obviously.
not.
No, it's only in Argentina. Exists one concept. The name is one Siki. The name is Pericón Ramirez. If you forget or lose your information, say no, I can continue. It's interesting the Siki because it's interesting. It's mentally because if you can to eat or making your stops, you have the Siki Pericón Ramirez. It's interesting.
Okay.
Because you forget your flavors. But when I started that, I called my mom and say, Mom, how can I make in the mole or how can I make in tortillas? And she explained me and she said, you can find like the mineral lime.
Okay.
Where I find you don't have, or Mom, how can I make in tortillas? But don't have corn. This is like this is like the reason when I design like the cooking class or like the market tours or maybe like the chocolate class, I promote like give like the real flavors and give like the real local products.
Yes.
This is like the reason.
And the fresh.
Correct, because maybe exists different cooking class around the world, obviously, and the best. But in the space in Etnofood, promote one philosophy: the good, the safe, and the fair, lo justo.
Okay.
Lo bueno, lo limpio, lo justo. Principles from slow food. The slow food is like the big moment. If you promote like the good food, you have the good life. And if you have the good life, you have the good future. Normally, like the person say, I like because it's more fancy. No organic, no fancy. It's the real, because maybe when coming to the market from Oaxaca in the Central de Abastos, like the person don't put in the labels organic.
No, they do not.
It's like the person.
They just didn't.
It's more. It's like correct. Say it's organic. It's more expensive. No. It's because no have added no more. But in this case, this is like the reason. I invite you, if you're walking around the market, you can find like the real connection. In this market, talking more languages than Europe, you can find 56 languages inside. Live. If you can watch like different wearings, when I talking like the customs, you can watch like this woman is from Istmo, this woman is from Mixteca, this woman is from Valles or maybe La Costa. Different communities you can watch only for like the customs. After when you watch like the color of skin, she's from the coast, or maybe he is from the mountains. It's interesting. Oaxaca is an incredible place and have all different weathers, and you can find maybe driving 2 or 3 hours and changing totally.
Yes.
This is like the reason.
But they're all meeting in Abastos. So we're always, I always try to address criticisms that people have, because why not? We are here to be open and honest. Some people have definitely said that Abastos is dangerous and you shouldn't go.
And this is amazing. For example, all the person working with me in Etnofood is like the interesting family. in the space promote like the inside in the team promote like the vegan food. Why? Because
but wait. But we want to know. But really, I mean, like some people say, don't go to Abastos because Abastos is dangerous.
No,
and it's not.
Thank you.
It's not safe. And they say,
I have recommendation.
The center supply center.
Of course, but
and the people that I hear this from are actually Mexican.
Correct, but if you go and with your cell phone
with your iPhone,
or if you have your ears,
I don't do all this. Yes,
correct.
This is not my Abastos look.
Correct, obviously.
My Abastos look is t-shirts and my hat.
Totally. But now, for example, maybe 3 years ago, you don't watch foreigners, no tourists. Obviously, I have maybe 8 years making these tours.
Okay.
But now it's normal you can watch like the güeros. But when you listen güeros, the meaning is foreigners or tourists. But when you listen güeros, no, it's because you are blonde. It's more because it's close, it's warming, it's like the güerita, it's friend or brother. But never say brother or amigo. Every time say, güerita, ¿qué le vamos a dar? And what is the meaning? What do you want? But in this case, it's more the colonial elements, maybe 500 years ago, and started and continue.
Okay.
This is like, when you listen, like you talking in French, marchand is French, and like the person talking mi marchanta is like the person you have the connection, and every time when you will go with the person and buying like different products, and say mi marchanta me guardó mis chayotes, the meaning my seller saved my food. Because she know coming more late.
Okay.
This is like the reason, because you have a connection. No, it's the same, because maybe you will go to the, I don't know, one brand or the commercial center. You don't say like the commercial center, the gerent or like the supervisor, could you save me my chayote? Say.
That's true. So it's definitely much more personal.
But you need to know one more. Like the owner from the market, no, it's only one. It's working. 20,000 persons working in the market. The Abastos is like it's one city in the city.
Okay.
It's like the second market most biggest from Mexico City to Peru. And it's like the first most biodiversity. Yes, the most biggest it's Mexico City, Central de Abastos.
I can imagine.
Crazy. But the second most biggest in biodiversity is Central de Abastos from Oaxaca. You can put inside 96 stadiums.
No.
Of football, soccer inside.
Oh wow!
That's
a number. We're gonna look this up. We're gonna check your facts. I won't know. I mean, it's massive. Obviously, I've been so, and then they keep changing the stalls because sometimes I know where my person is, and then I'm like, okay, go back to the person, and then they move them to someplace else.
Yeah, it's like the.
So you need time.
It's a mystery.
So when we talk about the slow food, even going to Abastos, you need time to. Don't try to go fast. You gotta go slow because there are different things that you're discovering and finding through the time. But I want to make sure that we get everything out from Etnofood. So obviously you have the cooking class. This is where we're going to show you some beautiful pictures of his class.
And the person is your friends. Do you have a discount now? Because I have friends.
Oh my goodness. You want to be friends with me now? Uh-oh. So, but you talked about the chocolate. I haven't done the chocolate class. So I'm going to have to do this. So talk to me about the chocolate class and talk to me about the space. So I always like to talk a little bit of business, just generally. The space that you're in, you own the space or you rent the space?
Rent.
You rent, okay. So your rent has stayed the same or it's gone up or what's happened there? And we don't want to anger the landlord, so we're a little PC, but talk to me.
I know. Oaxaca now changing, and the city is like the interesting city, 4 quarters, and exists different areas. If you stay in like the most tourist area, it's so expensive.
Yes.
Muy caro.
Muy caro. Carísimo.
Yeah, but if you live in, thank you so much for putting one incredible place around outside of the city, because maybe it's different, but it's the same city.
Oh yeah.
Walking.
It's like 5 minutes. It's not
but I answered your question.
Yes.
When I decide to put one space, is because in Oaxaca, maybe when you're living in Nueva York or New York, walking 10 blocks or 15 blocks is 1 hour. When you're walking 10 blocks, 10 minutes.
Yes.
Like the city, only 20.
It's not
20 blocks.
Yeah, it's not
20 minutes walking.
Yeah.
This is like the reason I decide to rent about like this space, but like the reason is because it's like the combination. put like different products in the same place, like the chocolateria, like the art gallery, like the laboratory for making like this. And in this year, start one space. The name is Teocalli, and the Teocalli is like maybe like the co-work, but it's like the food lab co-work. It's like the space if you wanted to practice or learning. Or maybe you're traveling around the world, you can say, I wanted to cook in one kitchen open. This is like the space.
Okay, so it's a little bit of a social business incubator.
Yes,
it's
like
we
this.
Call it anything. Okay.
And in this space, maybe this year started in June, like the new project to design like the dry.
The dry bathrooms that you're talking about.
The dry bathrooms.
Okay.
Because create one program with the youth people, with the volunteers. Create one program and design like different projects, and the next month started like the sustainable energy, because part of the life of part of the philosophy from Etnofood.
So can I ask you just a question about that? Are these more like think tanks, meaning we think about how we can put this together as volunteers, or this is an actual, at the end of whatever time, we have to create this dry bathroom or whatever?
It's like the social business. In this case, make like the mixing, the combination.
Okay.
I put the one person direct, or maybe give like the instructions or like the direct of the project, and after create different connections and have the small teams and different small teams working together and create the new options. This is like the reason. Maybe in the next conversation and another time, I talking with you and I working together and making one stuff, because maybe like the most important in the communities is create the new alternatives, because
yes,
Oaxaca no it's alone. Oaxaca now is the big community and create the incredible projects, and maybe making together, I don't know, if you wanted to design, create, this space is open and design another project. For me, it's important.
Okay, so I don't want to keep my audience too long. You guys have been here with me. Good. Thank you. Stay with me 5 more minutes, promise. Okay, but we have to answer the question though. So your rents, they went up?
Yes.
They did. Okay. So the only reason I ask you this is because I think sometimes when people see business and they see prices and they're like, oh my gosh, people are charging whatever they're charging. But the reality is your rents have gone up.
Yes.
The cost of food has gone up.
Yeah.
Everything has gone up.
Correct.
So you only have two choices. Either you tighten up your belt and lose 5-10 pounds, that's always a choice,
Yeah, I know.
Or you have to raise prices. And I imagine that being a social business, it's really important to you that the people who work for you are making a sustainable living.
Correct. And this is like the big goal, or maybe...
Yes. So everyone doesn't have to be,
And it's a big challenge.
So yes, it is. It's a challenge with the rising prices. And then, you don't want people to kind of say, oh, you're raising this price. But it's like a domino effect. Somebody raises on them, then you have to raise, and so it just continues. So you do your part, but there's also the reality of business. So I want to make sure that people understand your space too. So inside your space, we have the cooking class.
Yes.
We have the chocolate making class.
Yes.
What do we leave with when we do the chocolate making class?
All days, 9:30, have the specific laboratory of chocolate, and every days have the opportunity to take like the chocolate class, like 9:30 or 3 p.m. Like the reason is maybe promote like the small groups for have like the good connections. Only for more information, you can find it at etnofood.org, but I need to say all the products working with the local producers, no buying products for another, or maybe buying from Amazon or different places.
I'm allowed the curse word here.
But it's possible, it's the market.
Yes.
But exist the options. Now exists a crisis around the world with the chocolate, and the prices is too expensive. But in the locals, don't changing. Why? Because it's
it's made locally.
Correct.
And Oaxacan chocolate, I'm gonna go total side note on you. I did not know what real chocolate was until I showed up here. I thought that Nestle chocolate, we're probably not allowed to say names, right? I'm sorry, Nestle. It's not the same. Real chocolate exists here. So if you don't do anything when you come to Oaxaca, go for that. Okay, so in the space, we've got cooking, we've got chocolate, we've got the art gallery.
Yes, art gallery and the workshops.
And then we have the workshops. So we have the business workshops.
No, in this case, the workshops.
Workshops in the art gallery.
In art gallery, for example, working with different artists.
Okay.
And if you wanna to learning, or if you wanna put in your space,
okay.
In the next, if you wanna, or I send you. This is a promise. I send you one artwork or different products, because I have different products, but maybe it's like the big discussion when I talking like the business. No, it's totally business. It's like the social business to create like the alternative. I don't have a big production. It's like the small production,
Yes.
and in this case, preserve like the qualities and the good products. Because maybe, for example, the mezcal no is sustainable. If I produce maybe 10,000 or 100,000.
That's not going to work.
Correct, and
Yeah.
no work, and now exists like the big problem with the big communities only produce. 3 years, 4 years, is done. This is like the problem. Maybe you need to controlling, create a real.
To keep it, yes.
Correct,
So
and design.
quality and small.
Correct.
So slow, quality, small. That's our words for today.
It's amazing, but more person need know what is like the reason have like the good food, but not have all time. Maybe I remember when I started 10 years ago, like the small project when I selling mezcal. One person say, "Give me coyote, give me coyote," but no have coyote. Now no have coyote is one variety. It's Americana. Now the name is Lioba. But this kind of mezcal, it's impossible to find in one season. If don't have, it's impossible to bring. And people, no, but you need to say.
Because it's been
Don't have.
Yes.
This is like the reason, but like the
Because
market.
they weren't following your slow food philosophy.
No, but this is like the reason when like the person coming, I explain you a slow food philosophy, a slow food, Etnofood moment, and like I understand. Or maybe when give like different cacaos, or when give like different coffees, like I understand what happened, and I understand because I understand you coming from one like the first word.
I understand. So it's not McDonald's.
Yes, correct.
You're not going to get the same thing every time. You're going to get what is the right season and the right time.
Do you know how many McDonald's have Oaxaca?
Oh, one, right?
Correct.
Good for Oaxaca. I can't even tell you.
Yeah, this is like
and I'm sorry, McDonald's. I apologize. So we have to, on that, we're going to do our final.
No. Thank you so much.
Dixeebe. Okay, got it. Okay. Well, thank you so much for explaining this all to me, and anything you sent to me, I'll actually put in the description too.
Of course.
So we will absolutely have it there. And thank you all for joining me on Siesta with Suki. I hope you've learned a lot. I imagine you have. I learned quite a bit today. And I think the most important thing is that we can actually all do our part and still have fun, still eat really good food that's good for us, good for our bodies, and just really good for the environment kind of all around. So, without further ado, thank you so much, and we will see you next time. Ciao.